All right, please be joined this time by Coach Robert Walsh, the new head coach at Whitefield Academy. Coach, thanks for joining me.
I appreciate you having me on, Chris. Been listening to the podcast for a while now, and you do a really good job of putting info out there for coaches like me to pick up the phone and just learn something new every day. So appreciate
Coach,
you.
I appreciate it, man. It means a lot. I do enjoy doing this. We're doing this series, and it's in part because, we can do it however I want to do it. And I like to highlight some of the new guys. So I think the optimism of this time of year is always exciting to me, but especially the optimism with the new guys, the new hires, new staffs. But every place is a little different. And you're coming into a situation where they've had a decent team. You're looking at 6 years in a row of 6 or more wins, 6 years in a row in the playoffs. But I know your goal is to take it a little higher than that. So first, tell us a little bit about you. Anybody that doesn't know you, where you're coming from, kind of who influenced you along the way to get you where you are.
Well, first and foremost, I played in Southeast Georgia at Liberty County High School for Coach Kurt Warner, God rest his soul, and then offensive coordinator. Now he's the head baseball coach at Commerce, and Steve Cottrell. They had a big influence on me coming through high school and had a huge impact on me. Wanted me to get into coaching, made me want to get into coaching. But left there, went and played ball at LaGrange College under Todd Mooney and Coach K, who's up at Berry now, and they had a big impact on me as well. Unfortunately couldn't finish my career at LaGrange and ended up finishing my degree at Armstrong and got my foot in the door at Savannah Country Day working for Dennis Coyle. He built a really good program there over 10 years and kind of brought respect back to Savannah Country Day, and I was able to learn under him for about 7 years. Took a job up in North Carolina for about a year and didn't work out the way I thought it was going to. I was 28 years old trying to take a head job and wet behind the ears thinking I could conquer the world and got humbled real quick. So ended up back at Savannah Christian working for Baker Woodward. The last 5 years, we had a lot of success there. I was the defensive coordinator for him. Baker is such a great guy to work for. Really runs a really good faith-based program. And now I'm sitting in the head chair at Whitefield Academy and feel like God's called me here. So I'm excited to be here.
Well, Coach, you guys did a fantastic job at Savannah Christian. I was very impressed. Got a couple chances to watch a little bit here and there, and was really impressed with what you all were doing, both sides of the ball, but especially on defense. And what is private school to private school? You were at Liberty County, you public school guy back in the day, but found your way to private school. Now you're back at private school in North Georgia versus Savannah. What's is anything stand out that's different? North Georgia, South Georgia, or kids are kids, but what have you found to be different?
I mean, Whitefield, it's a little bit smaller than Savannah Christian. It's on the outskirts of Atlanta. It's the west side of Atlanta, and they're both faith-based institutions, which was kind of what I was looking for.
Yeah.
I finally learned, where my niche was and kind of what type of school I wanted to be at. To be honest, there's not really too many differences coming from Savannah Christian to Whitefield, just the size and classification, honestly. Whitefield didn't get as hammered by the multiplier as Savannah Christian did, so they're still in that single A, and we were playing triple A ball back at Savannah Christian. So that's probably the biggest difference, and having more multiple sport athletes here at Whitefield.
Right. Coach, what drew you to it outside of what you mentioned? Was there something that said, this is a place that I'd really like to be a head football coach?
I always thought about Whitefield when I was at Country Day. They were in our classification. We almost matched up with them a couple times, and then going to Christian and getting that faith-based school and kind of being a part of that and getting to mentor young men, kind of the way that I felt like God was calling me to. I applied for 2 jobs this offseason. Both of them were Christian schools and faith-based institutions, and stepped foot on campus of Whitefield and met the faculty, administration, and kind of their vision for what Whitefield was going to be and what kind of football program they wanted. That's what really drew me to it. And, my wife was part of the interview process. She came up here and toured the school. So she was big in that decision making too, and getting drawn to a certain school as well. So, but I would say just the faith based aspect and being able to pour into young men's hearts is
Yes.
big for.
I think that I talk to a lot of coaches, and I really do like talking to the new coaches a lot. And it is a mistake that many make, not understanding their individual niche. Period. I could just stop there, but I'll keep going. In your case, understanding what worked better for you. So many guys take a job thinking it's all the same. They go from private to public, or public to private, or big school to small school, or small school to big school, or North Georgia to South Georgia, or whatever, assuming that it's always the same. And obviously, a lot of aspects are the same. Kids are kids, 11 on 11, and all that. But it is important when you get these head jobs to be somewhere where you are comfortable in your niche. And so I commend you for some of your answers being more, maybe a little bit more introspective than some of the other. You know what I mean? I think that's a mature place to be, Coach. So there's not a question to that. I apologize. But my question will be this. What are these people at Whitefield Academy going to see? They get their team gets out on the field. What do they expect to see from your team?
From the first team meeting with the boys, I kind of laid out the three pillars of our football program. And that is discipline, love, and 1% better. And it comes from 2 Timothy 1:7. For God gives us a spirit, not of fear, but of power, love, and self-control. And Proverbs 13:4. The soul of the sluggard craves and gets nothing, while the soul of the diligent receives supply. I'm going to challenge these young men to be disciplined men on the football field, but also off the field. And a lot of people, football coaches, don't want to use the slogan love or anything like that because it seems kind of soft or whatever. But how many times do you hear a coach saying to a player, "Hey, I love you, bud," or player to player saying, "I love you"? I think, especially in today's world, teaching these young men how to love somebody and sacrifice for somebody else, and want somebody, like, serve somebody above themselves, I think is huge right now in our society, and just the way the culture is with our young people. And then challenging them to get 1% better at something. It doesn't have to be football. What did you do to get better as a man today, as a young man? Did you work hard in the classroom? Did you get better in the classroom? Did you get better as a son? Did you get better as a friend? What are those things? And challenging them to do those things. And I think if we do that and take care of those things, the wins will come. But I hope people, when they show up to see Whitefield play, they see a disciplined football team that loves each other, and they're getting better each and every week.
Coach, it's going to be exciting to see. I'm looking at your region. Not necessarily the easiest of regions you're going to find down there in Division One.
Nope.
Class A. St. Francis was a quarterfinal or semifinal team last year. Mount Pisgah, quarterfinal team. Mount Vernon's always got a good team. Kings Ridge can, Coach Crowder guys, but only 3 region games. Is that the same this year?
Yeah. So we'll automatically, and that's what I was kind of telling the kids, like they've been in the playoffs and stuff. And I'm telling
pretty nice
them,
going in that first year knowing you already made the playoffs, Coach. Congratulations.
Yeah, we're sitting in these, I've set up individual meetings with those players and kind of talk with them, and they're like, "Coach, we want to make it past the second round. Whitfield's never been past the second round. We want to make it to the third round," and stuff like that. And I'm kind of talking to them about, I don't want to compete. I want to win in the playoffs. I don't want to be one of those teams that people say, "Oh man, they compete. They're really, they play hard." I want to teach these kids to win each and every single day, and I want to win in the playoffs, and that's what I'm challenging them to do this offseason.
Well, and you guys had a lot of success doing that at Savannah Christian. What's one thing you learned over the years about winning in the playoffs? What's something you doesn't have to be unique to Whitefield, but just something as you've grown that you said, we get later in the year, this is something I've learned?
I think it's just the preparation, learning how, going from a young coach to an experienced coach, leaning on your staff a little bit more. It took me a while to learn that. I was trying to do everything by myself, but using your coaching staff, preparation, being able to keep it simple, stupid for the kids and allowing them to play fast. The last 5 years at Christian, that's kind of what we've done. Is just the preparation, learning to use my whole coaching staff and their tools and stuff, and just preparing the kids and keeping it simple for them. Don't want to overload them.
It's an art being good late in the year, and getting better as the season goes on. It's not as simple as it may seem. It doesn't always happen organically. Coach, you mentioned your staff a little bit. Let's brag on these guys a little bit. Tell me a little bit about whoever you can tell me about anyway that's new or old or staying on or whatever. You go from getting no credit. Baker got all the credit now or the blame. Now you're gonna get all the credit or blame. So you got to pass it on to these other guys.
Yeah. So currently on staff right now, we have Justin Kruger, who was the defensive coordinator this past year here at Whitefield. He's a young coach. He's been at Wesleyan. He's been in the private school scene for a little while now. He's going to be coaching our defensive line. We got Ray Oreo, who's coming up from Savannah Christian with me. He's going to be my offensive coordinator and my offensive line coach. We got Everett Pollard, who's going to be working with our quarterbacks here on campus. He coached the running backs here last year. I'm going to be coaching the defensive backs on the defensive side of the ball, and then we're working on to finalize a few more guys right now that are kind of behind the scenes, and just working through that right now with our AD, and hopefully that ball will get rolling a little bit faster here.
Yeah, I think hiring has always been tough for the new coaches. I think it's getting a little tougher. It's one of those things, regardless if you're at a single A school or a 7A school, your hiring timetable is a little bit different than it used to be. And there's some things I miss. That's not one of them. I'm not going to lie. That's not one of them.
Trying to, especially being at a school like Whitefield, you're trying to find the perfect fit that's a godly man and good football coach and can get it done in the classroom too. This is, education-wise, this is one of the best in the area up here. So trying to find that perfect fit here is tough, and you got coaches out there that are chasing titles and not ready to grind it out like we did back in the day. So,
like I know you've heard me say before, but some of these people need a math equation. There's 400 schools in Georgia. That's 400 head coaches. That's only 800 people who can call the play one side of the ball or the other. And the best I can figure it is about 4,000 coaches. So 3,200 people got made up titles.
Yep.
And no offense to them, I'd probably give them made up titles too if I was still coaching. I'm not down on that. What I'm saying is, quit worrying about it. You're not in the minority if you're not calling the play. There's 3,200 out of 4,000 people that aren't. So just get better and make a name for yourself, much like you did at Savannah Christian, and your time comes. Coach, what about this season? You guys talk about you. Let's just say you have a great first year. You made the third round of playoffs. What really improved? I mean, I know you watch these guys. You know a little bit about them. You're working with them now. What's something that really has had to improve from right now, if we're talking in December about you having that season?
I think it's, from talking to the kids and, learning them over, like, this is my 5th week up here at the school. So I'm still learning as I go right now too. But they're learning me as well. But talking to them, there's a lot of close knit classes. Like they're a close group. Like our rising senior class is a real close group. There's about 14 of them, and they're a tight knit group. What I'm trying to get them to understand is that's great that you guys are close and you guys are buddies and all that, but we got to bring the rest of the guys along, the 40 other guys that are going to be with you. You got to start mingling with them and allow them to be part of your family and us come together as a football team for us to be successful. I think that's the biggest thing that we got to improve on. Like, today we just set a new morning workout record here at Whitefield Academy with 47 boys in the weight room from 6:30 to 7:30 this morning. So the buy-in's starting to come, and the seniors going down and talking to the freshmen during their lifts. That stuff's starting to come. I think if we continue to work in that direction, I think that's going to be what helps us be successful for sure.
Man, that's awesome. Seeing those participation numbers, Coach. That's what it's all about. I don't pull for anybody. I pull for all y'all and nobody. I just like seeing the kids be out there participating, competing. And unfortunately half of them got to lose, but that's what makes it great. Talking about losing, you look at this single A. Tell you something I noticed doing a radio show and just talking about high school football a lot during the season is this new single A, especially this Division I that you guys are in. It's very difficult, maybe even in AA2, to go undefeated. It's very difficult. It's not like it used to be where you get in this regional group and you're the best team in that general area and you beat everybody up and play the first tough team in the playoffs. The good teams have to play tough schedules like you guys are playing. And you just don't see, you're seeing like St. Francis was 10-4. I mean, 7-3 in the regular season, won 3 playoff games. Mount Pisgah was 7-3 in the regular season, won 2 playoff games. That's in your region. That happened in almost every region. You have the occasional team, that just dominated everybody. What have you learned and what do you anticipate moving forward? I think one of the toughest moments is coming back after losses. I think when you really show what you're good. You obviously you don't want to lose any. But what's something that comes to mind as I'm saying that okay, we got beat by somebody. They're a pretty good football team. But now we're making the playoffs anyway. We got 3 region games at the end. What's got to be our stand? What's got to be something I'm telling myself, the kids, whatever?
I think, you go to the tape and learn what you need to work on. Where was your weaknesses? How did that team attack you defensively? Where did they attack us offensively? Where's our weak spots and how can we fix it? I've told the kids, I don't care if we go 0-6 going into region, go 0-7 into region play. That's not going to make or break our season. We go undefeated in the region, we're still a 1 seed. So I want to be playing our best football towards the end of the season. So those early losses, it's got to be, as a coaching staff, we got to learn from it. What do our kids do well? And we need to put them in more of those situations than the other. And telling our kids the same thing. Hey, this wasn't successful this week. We're going to kind of point you guys in this direction, and hopefully this will lead to more success and wins. But I think a loss, sometimes is a good thing. Mm-hmm. Just being able to point out those weaknesses as a coach.
Yeah, you just see so many, and I know there is a team, definitely one for sure that did last year that goes undefeated in those classes. I just mean it's tougher than it's ever been to just run through everybody when you got to play 7 non-region games. My prayer for you is you win all of them, Coach. I'm pulling for you. I just, but I think that's an interesting dynamic now, and in an era where kids are a little less likely to come back from losses and feel like as well as maybe they used to. So you do have to kind of prep your team and really understand what your job is as the head coach. And I do think this may be a better question to ask you next year, but I do think you'll find that head coaching is way different than assistant coaching there. Like I think you'll find that, when you're coordinator, you lose, you just go get better. I mean, you just worry about ball. But as the head coach, you got to worry about keeping these guys competing, keeping them doing what they're supposed to do, their mama's mad, whatever. That the winning and losing has a lot more ramifications on that head coach, and not just their job. I don't mean it like that. I mean on the attitude that they're able to reflect to everyone else and et cetera. And so some of the advice we give a lot of people at head coaches is really being prepared for that. Of course, plan on going undefeated, but don't get discouraged when you don't. That's when you really can show what kind of coach you are. Coach, I get you out on this. Tell me something scheme. I mean, a defensive thing. Tell me something you learned this offseason. Just anything, drill, a scheme, a technique, anything that you think, this is something we didn't do last year. We should have, and we're doing it this coming
year. Defensively, I was blessed to work with Keith Brooking at Savannah Christian. Arguably, I think he should be in the Hall of Fame in the NFL. He brought something to the table that, I haven't really done in the past. And it was match 3. And we didn't do it too much this past season at Savannah Christian, just because a lot of teams, it didn't work into our game plan. They weren't doing the things for us to be in that coverage or anything like that. So what I've done this offseason is I've really dove into that after watching the film and watching the teams that we're going to play this season, and trying to learn more about match cover 3 and all those things. And that's something that I've dove into a lot this offseason. Just getting the details of that and then trying to make sure I can articulate it to the kids and keep it simple for them. So
awesome, Coach. That's good. I'm looking forward to it. I'm excited to see what you guys can do. It's exciting time, Coach. Spring's a great time. A lot of hope, a lot of optimism. I wish you the best. Hope everybody stays healthy and get all those guys hired and have a great year. Looking forward to following you guys.
I appreciate it, man. Thanks for having me on again, and love the podcast and continuing to do what you do, man.
Thanks a lot, Coach. I really do appreciate it. Take care.
You too.